Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Saturday, July the 26th, 2025. And as you can see, I'm not actually walking at the moment. It's been absolutely pouring rain all night, and it's actually still quite heavy out there now. You probably can't see it there, but believe me, it's coming down still quite heavily. So Neil refused to get out of bed this morning. He had a bit of a lie-in, and I thought about just grabbing the umbrella and going by myself, but I thought it might be a little bit safer and a lot easier just to do it right here on my back patio. So still a little bit to get through actually on this day. Actually, speaking of on this day, probably the first one to put out there is that today is actually the 12-month anniversary of the first episode of Walking Boxing. I remember it was the day after Justice Huni beat, I think it was Troy Pilcher last year, and I was just walking that morning and whacked the phone out and away we went. So I checked the box rec, and his fight with Pilcher was July 25. So today, as I said, is the first anniversary. And I think, so having said that, I mean, I've been away a couple of times, so I probably would have had to have done between 330, 340 episodes. So that's a lot of episodes, isn't it? So I might try and number them now on the Spotify, so we sort of know where we're at. But that was on this day. Also on this day, 1967, Bangkok, Thailand, Chachae Choinoi knocked out, I can't pronounce that name, looks like another Thai opponent in the third round to defend the WBC flyweight title. 1981, Mexico's Lupe Pintor. Really used to like watching Lupe Pintor. He defended his bantamweight title with a knockout of, who we got there, Venezuela's Jovito Rengifo in the 8th round. And in, actually, I'll go back. Actually, I'll do this one. 2000, no, hang on. I'll go back first. I'll take that back. 1928, Gene Tunney stopped Tom Heaney in the 11th round to retain the world heavyweight title. That was at the Yankee Stadium in the Bronx in New York. That was his second defense after he beat Jack Dempsey twice in those famous fights back in the day. And this is probably, well, it's probably more an infamous one. Antonio Margarito stopped Miguel Cotto on this day in 2008 to win the world welterweight title, WBA version. And we all remember the controversy surrounding that. And did anything actually, I think he got banned, did he? I can't actually remember. It was the hand wraps. Or was it against Mosley where it was, I can't remember, long time ago. Well, not that long ago, but I'm sure you'll fill me in anyway. But there was the controversy with the wraps, and he was sort of found to be a cheat, and he did get a suspension from memory. But anyway, fill me in. All right, so on to today's news of the day. We'll start with, well, I'm going to start with an international bit of news for starters, and it's not boxing related. It's the death of Hulk Hogan. That actually happened yesterday, of course, and I know I won't spend too much time on it, but geez, if you grew up in the 80s like me, Hulk Hogan was just an icon of entertainment, and we didn't know it was fake back then. I was about 10 years old, 12 years old, but and it's not really, I don't call it fake as such, it's entertainment. We know what we're getting, it's scripted, okay, and they do a fantastic job. But back then with Hulkamania, and it was just larger than life was Hulk Hogan, and I used to love on a Saturday afternoon. I remember I used to have It's a Knockout on. If you remember that game show, it was all the states against each other doing weird and wonderful things. And then they'd go into the WWF back then. And Hulk Hogan used to start with the music at the start, and he'd be, when he'd walk out, and he was unbelievable, Hulk Hogan. I actually had the privilege of seeing him live once when I was in Canada as an exchange student. I went to the wrestling there. That's when they used to have wrestling all the time, and not these WWF shows they used to have on TV where it was always the A side against, you may as well say the D side, because that's how bad the opponents were. But these were the actual proper fights, and he fought, or the proper matchups, and he fought Ric Flair in Toronto, and it was awesome. I loved it, and I feel really privileged to be able to have seen the Hulkster back in the day. But anyway, I know it's not boxing related, but Hulk Hogan, what a figure he was. And it's been a sad week, hasn't it? Because we also lost Ozzy Osbourne as far as the music goes. I wasn't really a metalhead or anything like that, but I obviously knew about Ozzy Osbourne and the the legacy that he had on music with the Ozfest and the TV shows and all that sort of stuff. And to think that he did his last concert only a few weeks ago at the age of, what was he, 76? Just amazing that he was able to get up there with the Parkinson's disease really taking a hold on him. So, yeah, it's been a bad week for all of us that grew up in the 80s. All right, so on to some boxing news. On the Aussie side, we've got Jake Wiley and Bilal Dib fighting on August the 23rd. Now, I forgot to mention that the other day. So much to talk about. So that's happening. Really good matchup. I like it. On the undercard, Sky Nicholson is actually there as the co-main. Now, this has taken a real interesting twist this week because if you didn't see it, the opponent she's actually fighting was supposed to have been fighting Chanel Dargan. I think, was it this weekend or next weekend, whatever it might have been. Pretty crazy stuff. Now, this is where the twist gets funny. I suppose you'll call it funny. The opponent, I can't remember her name. She's an Indian girl. She's scheduled to fight Chanel Dargan. It's real comical stuff. Chanel Dargan gets the text message from the team, from the Indian girl, saying, sorry, we can't fight on the date. Her father's died and all the rest of it, and actually provided a couple of photos of her dad in hospital and the funeral and all this sort of stuff. And of course, as Chanel would do, she said, oh, look, I'm really sorry, my best wishes, thoughts and prayers, all that sort of stuff. Sincere condolences, all that sort of stuff. And just moves on. Then the plot really thickens because then the Indian girl is announced as the opponent for Sky Nicholson for the August 23 show. And those photos that were sent to Chanel Dargan and her team were actually shots from the COVID period, where it was a photo of some random guy, Indian guy in hospital back in 2021, I think it was. And then the funeral was just a random Indian funeral photo they'd picked off. So I picked off the net. So look, we can sort of laugh about it, but I tell you what, if I was Chanel Dargan and her team, I certainly wouldn't be laughing about it because they've missed out. It's a little bit like Shay Keneally as well has missed out. She was supposed to be fighting as well, and her opponents pulled out for whatever reasons. I mean, it must be tough for the girls. Well, any fighter out there, but I suppose at least Shay Keneally's opponent, her team were pretty much upfront about it, and I gather told the truth. But can you get your head around that? Where did you think that Chanel Dargan's team weren't going to actually see what had happened? It's just ridiculous. Look, I know they do things a little bit differently over there in India, but I'm not sure did they fully expect to get away with it? But all that aside, I really do feel for Chanel Dargan. I hope she gets another fight. People forget that the training and that all these fighters do and the team put in a lot of work, and there's money involved. They've got to take time off work, and they've got families and all that sort of stuff. And I think in Chanel's case, she's a single mum as well. So it's pretty tough. Yeah, but it was just, it was comical, wasn't it, that she thought she'd get away with it. And look, wouldn't you have thought that Sky Nicholson team might have maybe just been able to find someone else? I mean, it is a month out. They could have found someone else to chuck in there and not take away the opportunity of a fellow female Aussie fighter. Maybe she didn't know. I don't know. But, geez, I would have thought that they would have known she was in another fight. And if that is the case, and they've deliberately done, it's a little bit selfish if you ask me. I understand it's a business, but geez, you would have thought there'd be plenty of other girls out there that she could have maybe fought on 4 weeks' notice. But anyway, as for the Wiley and Dib fight, I like the fight. I back Jake Wiley to win the fight. I think Bilal Dib's, he's a warrior. He's tough. He's hard. Just not quite sure he's really at the level of someone like a Jake Wiley. Not to say Jake Wiley at this stage necessarily is knocking on the door of the world scene, but he's a good young kid. Showed against George Kambosos that he can fight at the level, and I would expect him to get the chocolates over Bilal Dib. And look, another fight it wasn't over the weekend, it was last night. Geez, did you see it was Dempsey McKean? I won't spend too much time on him because it's not really worth talking about, but the only thing I will say, if you didn't see it, he won a first-round knockout over Petero Kawika, I think his name was. He was 6-2. Doesn't look too bad on paper, but I mean, Dempsey's coming back from that bad loss to Moses Otama. I get that, but oh geez, if you haven't seen the vision of it, I just hope we're not going back to the times where promoters are just, what would you call it? I don't know. I mean, I've been a promoter, as everyone knows, but geez, to willingly put this guy in with Dempsey McKeon. Hadn't fought for 6 years, 6-2, and he'd been knocked out in his last 2 fights before that. The last one in 2019 was against Arsene Fozo, who we've seen a few times here in Australia. He was knocked out in the first round in that fight. But it was all over in about, was it a minute and a half, whatever it might have been. I don't think the guy even really threw a punch. He was a little round thing from Fiji. I felt embarrassed for mainly for Dempsey McKeon. I don't think he would have wanted that type of fight. I felt embarrassed for the crowd that they had to watch that. I felt embarrassed. I think the promoters should be very embarrassed about it. It was Ace Boxing in this regard. I know they would never have put Dempsey McKeon in with someone like that. They wouldn't have done it because there's a difference between coming back and having a comeback fight and having a confidence booster fight than having that. Massive difference. And I was just going to say, as far as embarrassment goes, embarrassed for Australian boxing yet again, because we've had it with Skye Nicholson in her last fight. We had it with Jazzy Parr in her last fight. I don't like to see it, and I'll call it out wherever it, in my opinion, it happens. And as I said, I think Dempsey McKeon, this is not the type of fight that he would have wanted. Again, I get it that you want the, as I said, the comeback fight, and that's cool. But surely there's a fighter in New Zealand or Fiji, with Fiji better than this guy anyway, but New Zealand or somewhere around, even in Australia, I don't know, that would have at least been in a condition to put up his hands and throw a punch. This guy didn't even throw a punch. And the first half decent, I'm not even going to call it a punch, it was slap, hit, whatever you might want to call it, and it was all over. And he didn't want no part of it. So I'm not sure whether Dempsey knew much about this guy, but I mean, he looked badly out of shape. As I said, didn't throw a punch, and we've got to get past this if we're going to maintain credibility. We really do. Just embarrassing all around. And as I said, I don't think this would never happen on an Ace Boxing event. No way. So I know he wasn't part of that. It was another promoter's event. Maybe they just wanted to get Dempsey on a quick turnaround, or wanted to just get him on whatever show was around at this time, and whatever show they could get him on, they've got him on and put up this opponent. I understand money's an issue with bringing opponents out. I get it, but just like Jazzy Parr and Skye Nicholson, Dempsey McKeon would have got a lot more benefit from doing a 10-minute pad session out the back, probably a 5-minute pad session, one round. We'd have got more than what he got last night. And I understand, again, you want confidence builders and all the rest of it. This is not a confidence builder. How can Dempsey McKeon possibly gain any confidence out of that? He's not an idiot. He would have looked at that and went, well, what was that? Now, I don't know whether they watched tapes on him or whatever it might have been. Who knows? But there's no way he would have walked away from that and went, you know what? I think I'm back. No way. He would have walked away from that and said, are you kidding me? We need to do better than that. But anyway, I'm sure everyone will have to say. Speaking of credibility, have you seen? Oh, I'm sure you have. Excuse me. The Hood Contender. Now, our man Jeff Fennick's back. He's had a big week, Jeff. He was all over the YouTube and social media accounts for his comments last week on Tim and his fight with Sebastian Fundora last week. And I love the way he just gets it all off his chest. I love it. And he's in the best position possible to be able to get it out there. So I fully respect what he says. But he's in the news again because this Hood Contender thing they've created. Now, I don't know much about it. I've done a little bit of research since I read about it yesterday. And it is pretty much it's Fight Club, which is all you can probably say without... Well, they don't do it in basements and they don't do it bare-fisted and everything else. They do it I think they do it with the MMA gloves on, and they do it in open fields, and I think they get the hay bales and do a little stadium. And look, it's good in theory, it really is. And Jeff spoke out about it, and he has real issues and doubts about the whole thing, that these guys, I mean, it's unsanctioned. They just do it in the middle of a paddock somewhere or in someone's backyard, wherever it might be. So there's a danger in that. And he's saying, look, he's been around boxing long enough to see fighters that have really copped some bad punishment over the years. And these days, what did he say? Can't wipe their own ass or something like that anyway. But look, I've got to be sort of careful the way I say, because I know everyone has their own opinions of it. My thing, I've got no issue with the premise of it. I really don't. I can't remember the guy who runs it. He did say about, well, it's for mental health and all this sort of stuff. And I don't mind it. As I said, the premise of it, of these guys out there, a lot of them have got a lot of built up frustration and issues and anger problems. A lot of them, rather than maybe do it on the street, do it here in front of all their peers, and they all seem very respectful about it all. And they all, I don't, from what I see, there's no one really getting battered to the point of being badly hurt. And it looks like they have sort of got a referee, and by all accounts, they've got medical people and all that there. I'm not sure. This is the question I have. I'm not sure whether a licensed doctor or paramedic or whatever it might be would willingly go to an event like that when they know it's not sanctioned. Look, maybe they've got friends and family or whatever that are doctors and paramedics that volunteer to do it. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. But that's probably the doubts I have, is that would those medical guys really go there? They knew it was 100% illegal, basically. It's illegal. They haven't got permits. They haven't got anything to do the events. Then on the other side, the fact that who's the referee? Who is he? Obviously he's not licensed either. Is it just some guy who says I'll do it and doesn't really know how to read the fight and separate them properly and stop the fight properly? I don't know. These are the questions I sort of have. I'm not saying, strangely enough, I'm not saying I'm totally against it. I'm not like Jeff saying this is barbaric and should be outlawed, because by all accounts, in this day and age, there's a lot of issues in society, and as I said, people with anger issues and psychological issues, whatever it might be, and just issues in general. And the fact they can get out there in front of all their mates, like the movie, I think it was sort of therapeutic to a lot of them just to get in there and punch on and just get it out of the system. I don't mind that aspect. But as I said, my only questions is that, is the medical side really being looked after properly? Is the referee really, not that a lot of referees do a great job anyway, but at least they're trained and they know the rules. And are there any rules? I'm sure there are. Is it just a matter of the guy getting up like Brad Pitt does in the movie and calls out the rules? I don't know, but I don't mind the premise. From what I see on YouTube and on the news sites, it does look like it's pretty controlled, but it's just, those doubts sort of spring to mind. Now, will it last? I strongly doubt it, because now it is right out there. The odds are there's going to be the cops and whoever else out there really looking to shut this down, because at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, it is illegal. It is unlicensed, and that obviously can be fraught with danger. So I don't know, because the other question I had is, as far as the fighters go, are they having medicals? This is the other issue. I forgot to bring it up before. Are they having medicals? If you don't know, in professional boxing, amateur boxing, you've got to have blood tests. You've got to, in some cases, have CAT scans, and you've got to have all these different, your heart rate. Now, how do we know that some of these guys aren't going in there with heart conditions, or maybe conditions where they've had knocks on the brain? We just don't know. And really, if someone did get knocked out badly, those medical people they have there, are they equipped to actually look after the fighter properly? But anyway, these are just the things I'm putting out there. But Jeff certainly had his say today. And as I said, I don't necessarily agree with everything that Jeff said. I think it's great from afar of what it does. But I would just like it to be a little bit more regulated, I suppose. I'm just wondering why they couldn't actually, like this guy, why he couldn't actually do a proper permitted event. Why couldn't they set it up like they do in a stadium, or even outside, whatever it might be, like they do now, and have it set up properly, but just have proper officials there? They do it with MMA and everything like that. Really, it could be MMA in an open field, really, when you think about it, because that's really what it is. It's all things go, from what I said. Or is it just boxing? I don't know, but they do bare knuckle boxing now, and MMA, of course. So maybe it could be a case where it could be, I said yesterday about what could be next as far as everything goes. Well, maybe this could be it. Maybe this could be, you've got the boxing and MMA, and now you've got the bare knuckle and the slaps. Could this be next, where it's open field fight club? Who knows? But anyway, I've just got a feeling, though, this is not going to last long in its current format. But anyway, more, I suppose, will come to light over that. Now, just onto the international scene. I saw this morning the news that Manny Pacquiao is going to be back. I think we all knew that. There's 3 opponents they've sort of put up, and it's going to be either Rolly Romero, Mario Barrios in a rematch, or Gervonta Tank Davis. Now, I think the Barrios fight makes sense, although I sort of wonder if Barrios actually turns up to really have a crack this time, whether it might be a bit different. Rolly Romero, as I said again yesterday, would be winnable, but they're also talking about him maybe fighting Ryan Garcia in the second fight, maybe in December, which I think that does make sense, a lot more sense than maybe Pacquiao, I don't know. But the Tank Davis fight, if I'm being honest, even though it would be fought at probably be a catch weight or even at welterweight, I've got some doubts whether that would be beneficial for Manny. I Tank Davis, the only way I would probably support the fight is if it is at 147. I just think Tank Davis can be a killer. I know he didn't look great against Lamont Roach in his last fight, but on his day, he gets in the mood. He's a dangerous little fella. So I don't really like that fight. I think Barrios probably makes the more sense as far as money goes, but does it? Because the first fight was probably a hard sell. I think it was a whole card they sold. I'm just not sure whether people, with how the fight, I mean, it was great that Manny got the draw, but I don't think people are going to really want to line up to see Mario Barrios again. I would think that the fans, if you put it to them, obviously would like it. Probably Tank Davis is a fight they would want, but again, as I said, I don't really like that one. But the Romero fight, I think, would gather a lot of momentum from the fans out there. Romero is a bit of a character. So out of all those three, if they had to put one of them, I would probably support the Romero one more, just because it has a little bit more about it. As I said, Barrios, forget it. He doesn't deserve another fight. Tank Davis, too dangerous. But Romero might be the one. But as I said, he might fight Garcia. Garcia's chatted about it and said he would love to fight. He reckons he had bad hands the first time. He said the small crowd really put him off. He couldn't really do a lot in training with his bad hands. So there are lots to sort of play out. And, of course, Garcia's also put up his hands to fight Pacquiao as well. So I'm sure it'll all play. But, again, never a dull moment out there, is there, as far as a lot of these matchups goes. Now, the other thing I saw this morning was the trailer for the Prince Naseem Hamed movie. Now, I don't know the guy who's starring as Prince Naseem, but Pierce Brosnan is in the movie, which gives it a lot of cred. And it didn't look too bad. The only thing I worry about when they bring out a boxing movie is the quality of the fight choreography, whether the guy can actually fight or not. We've seen it in numerous movies where they've been good movies, but it just hasn't for me, but they haven't been able to pull it off because the fight scenes are so bad. And I'd probably point to the likes of the Vinny Pazienza movie, Bleed for This, more notably The Fighter with Mark Wahlberg. I love Mark Wahlberg. It was a good movie, but I just think the fight scenes really took away from it. They were just so bad. Southpaw is probably the obvious one as well. Not a bad storyline, but the fight scenes were horrific. These ones didn't look too bad, so I'm hoping that they can pull it off, because the story of Prince Naseem, I would like to actually know the storyline of what happened with him, and look forward to the movie. But it didn't look too bad, so check it out. And it makes you think what other movies they could bring out here in Australia. And I made a little bit of a list there. The Fennec movies is coming, apparently. So, and I think they're casting for it now and everything else. So that is a movie that just has to be made. Now, whether it's a TV movie or a full-on movie, I don't know. But there needs to be, obviously, a Fennec movie. And as I said, they'll get it. Who plays Jeff Fennec? Very, very good question. But that is just 100% needs to be made. It is the classic Aussie underdog story, and I can't wait to see it. I wouldn't mind seeing, now I'm not sure whether this would have to be a TV movie or something like that. I wouldn't mind seeing a movie about the Lester Ellis and Barry Michael fight. Not necessarily their careers, maybe the lead up to their fight. So much happened around that fight. I know there's a documentary and that about it, but I want to see a movie about that fight. Where, as I said, it might be the lead up to it, where you've got Lester winning the world title, you've got Barry who's struggling away and then sees his golden opportunity when Lester wins the belt, because he's had done so many rounds with Lester and sees the opportunity to get that belt from him. Then the drama of the fight itself and the build up, the fight, and then the aftermath, maybe even with Barry with what happened in the nightclub with Alphonse Gangitano. How Lester really struggled to cope with it, and the rematch talks, all that sort of stuff. I would love to see it. Whether that's just a TV movie or whatever, I would love to see it. I don't think it would ever get made because it's just not high profile, I suppose. But I would love to see it. Who else would we like to see? As far as internationally goes, the Tyson movie is coming, starring Jamie Foxx. That's been a long time in the works, so I'm really looking forward to seeing that. I know there was sort of a low-budget one that was brought out a few years ago, but I think the Jamie Foxx one would be great, and obviously that is a movie that needs to be made. I mean, geez, I'm not sure they could fit enough into that in 2 hours. They probably need a sequel to it just to fit all the drama of Mike Tyson's life into that. They almost need his first career, and then what happened after that, his fall from grace, and then built back up to culminate, hopefully, not with the Jake Paul fight, but so much they could put into that. The other one I would maybe like to see is Hector Macho Camacho. You would have seen the videos over there going around the Spanish Harlem over there with my old mate Eddie Montalvo there. Just hearing some of the things that Eddie said, that would be a great story. Hector Macho Camacho, the story. They could just call it the Macho Man or just Macho, whatever, but I'd love to see that. The other one's maybe Marvelous Marvin Hagler. I think that'd be an awesome movie as well. The struggles he had to go through the ranks and get his title shot and everything that happened. I mean, that would be great as well. Or maybe even, as far as not just even Hagler, maybe it's a movie about the four kings, Hagler, Hearns, Leonard, and Duran, how all of those careers all interweb with each other. That would be difficult. But that wouldn't be a bad movie as well. And then you can probably see movies coming down the track, possible movies. Canelo Alvarez is one. I know Manny's got one coming out, hasn't he? Pacquiao, I think. Or is it just a documentary? But he needs a movie. Manny Pacquiao, I mean, 8-time world champion and coming from the streets of the Philippines. So that's the obvious one. But yeah, Canelo will definitely be one. Maybe Oscar De La Hoya is probably one as well. And maybe even Floyd Mayweather Jr. They're probably some of the ones I could probably see having movies made about him down the track. But I love it. I love it when they do the movies about these superstars. I just want them to get it right. The Muhammad Ali one with Will Smith was okay. I think the movie itself was great, and Will Smith actually did a pretty good job with the fight choreography. The George Foreman one was okay. I just think they rushed it too much. They rushed through his career. It should have been a 2.5 hour epic, that one. And I think they just rushed too much and packed too much into it and skimmed over too many things too quickly for George. But the fight scenes in that were okay as well. So we'll keep an eye out for the Prince Naseem movie. It's called Giant. And as I said, we've also got Fennec and Tyson coming out as well. A couple of quick things. Dmitry Bivol and Beterbiev look like they might be fighting in December in Russia now. I did talk about this a while ago, but the IBA, the International Amateur Body, who've been pretty much outlawed by the Olympic Committee to do what they do with the amateurs, they've actually stepped in and they want to promote the fight. And apparently they've got all the boxes ticked as far as backing and all that goes from the Russian government. So they're looking to do that, excuse me, maybe in December. So let's just hope the fight happens. Bivol's been pretty vocal that he thinks that Bivol is trying to, Beterbiev is being vocal about Bivol trying to wait him out as far as his age goes. I don't think that's the case. I think Bivol is just looking for the best offer for him, the best deal. And I think the fight will happen. So that looks like it might be December anyway. And one last thing. There is a girl in Mexico who is about to turn pro, and you might be thinking, oh, well what's the go with that? Well, nothing untoward. The issue with it is that the girl is 12 years old. Her name is Romina La Bombita Caston. Now, she's, 12 years of age. Now, even in Mexico, a lot of people, Canelo famously turned pro at 14, I think it was. Apparently, legally, it's supposed to be 15, but a lot of them haven't got birth certificates and all this sort of stuff. But they're going to try and sneak it through where she's going to turn pro at 12. Now, the odds are they'll turn. Apparently, she's a really good little fighter, but looks like they're going to. You can just imagine the type of fighters they'll match her with initially. They'll all be bloody homeless people and everything off the street, you would think. But 12 years of age, can you get your head around that? So, yeah, her name is Romina La Bombita Caston. So, they're trying to stop it from happening, but this is Mexico, where I don't think the rules and regulations are probably followed to a T. But isn't that fascinating in this day and age? Look, I suppose if she can handle herself okay and they match her properly, why not? But I just think 12 years old is a little young. Maybe wait till, I think 15 is still probably a bit young, but look, you can't hold them back forever. But I read it and it nearly blew my mind. 12 years of age. But anyway, all right, guys, well, that's going to do it for today. Just as I say that, the rain's starting to subside, but I'm sure it'll pick up as the day goes on, and we'll be pretty much inside all day. But guys, have a great Saturday, and we'll catch you tomorrow.